Bagseed Chronicles is a podcast about cannabis.
It's like they were actually trying.
Cannabis enjoyment.
I remember being here in 2018. I came to visit, and I just remember the entire valley filled with cannabis.
Oh yeah.
Just the hemp farms.
Hello, welcome again to the Bagseed Chronicles. I am your host, Uncle Dig, and today I have part 2 of my interview with James, the former grower. And today we get into even more of what makes James such a beautiful snapshot of a forgotten era. We talk about non-LED grow lighting. I know, right? Crazy. Archaic technology. And we talk about all other kinds of grow stuff and not grow stuff. So please join me. But first, I bet you're wondering what's going on in my garden. Uncle Dig's garden update. Hey! It's getting close to when it matters what month it is, but we're not there yet. Soon, I'll be starting my photo period garden for the outdoor grow, specifically the non-feminized seeds that I need to sex before I bring them outside. But not yet. Right now, we've got 2 tents going on right now. We've got a small 2x2 right here in the studio that I've unplugged the fans to not mess with my audio. So, it's in this 2x2 is a Girl Scout cookie autoflower from 420 Fast Buds that is almost in week 5 of its life. It's already starting to flower, so it's going to be a smaller autoflower. Now, out in my garage, I've got a big 4x4 grow tent. In there are 6 autoflowers. All of them are in week almost 7 of their lives. They're all flowering. There are 4 bust-down Pateks and 2 other plants, one of them a blackberry and one of them being a big bud. The big bud blackberry and one of the bust down Pateks has been defoliated, hopefully for the final time, but we'll see what happens. And the other 3 have yet to be defoliated and will be defoliated today when the lights come on later tonight. And that's really it for the garden update. I don't have much going on. The Girl Scout cookie indoors is going to get a top dress, and the other plants won't get top dressings for a couple more weeks. Well, that's it for my garden update. Let's overgrow the world. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of the James interview, and we are back after a brief interruption. And we are going to pick up where we left off. And you were just telling us about when you finally started to make a little money growing cannabis. That's important. Turn on that mic, sir.
Yeah,
yes.
Microphone time. Turns out, not with flour or concentrates or anything else. Where we did it was clones.
Clones. So you were slanging clones.
Oh, yeah. That was a thing. Depending upon the genetics and who you were dealing with and what was going on, get 20, 25 more a piece.
Yep.
Yeah. And I can put, 50 cuttings in a flat and sell it to somebody. That's $500-$600.
Wait, you didn't have to root them first?
Oh, of course they were rooted. We were in a rock wool, so we were completely modular. It didn't matter if you wanted to put in dirt or if you wanted to put it in hydro. We had you covered. It was rooted in the 1-inch rock wool cubes.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I like the 3-inch ones the best. Those are the big cubes. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite ones.
Right.
And we were rooting there. We'd root under domes and under fluorescent lights, and we made more money and had more consistent results with clones.
Right. Selling to other gardeners.
Exactly. So and that was the thing. So a lot of people, seeds were still expensive.
Right.
The seeds were starting to come in their own as we were getting closer to actual legalization.
Yeah.
That just was going. But it was still seeds, and you had to do seed orders and mess with the seeds and sex them and blah 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 blah. or you go down to one of the medical dispensaries, because that was provision in the law, and buy clones.
Right.
All you had to do, show your medical card, you're good to go.
And they were selling them back then for like $30, weren't they? $35.
Oh, yeah.
So for a clone.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all were undercutting them at $25, $20.
Yeah.
And now, I would guess, if you were slinging clones illegally now, you would probably sell them like $15, $10, I would say. Probably. If you want to undercut the seed market, seeds are like $10 a pop right now. If you're paying more, don't.
But like per seed or for a pack?
Per seed.
Oh, wow.
I think I paid $65 for the last 5-pack of autoflowers I bought. And then the last photos I got for like $10 a seed. It just depends. Sometimes you're going to pay slightly more, but I really don't like paying more than $10 a seed for photo periods. I'll pay a little more for autoflowers because you put a little work getting that ruderalis in there and making it flower on its own. And I'll pay a little extra for a seed that does that magic on its own. I don't have to worry with the light schedule. And a lot of how I keep my stuff warm is with the heat from the light. So it's nice to be able to have a longer light schedule if I want still flower.
Christ, I remember when just to get when New York Diesel, when that became a thing.
Right.
New York City Diesel and Sour Diesel. New York Diesel was $325 for a pack of 10 seeds.
Yeah, there are still genetics that cost that much. They're just not worth it anymore.
It's just wow. And that was we did seed orders. We never touch any of the really expensive stuff. We got some Dutch Passions once. That was all right.
Yeah.
Except for it just phenotypic variation is the thing. They can
right.
have inbred lines. They can do all the backbreeding and cubing and squaring. They can do all of that they want. You're still going to see little snippets of that variation. So we had a blueberry. We had the Dutch Passions blueberry, the
right.
one, and it was just garbage.
Huh.
Yeah.
We the one that I had from that I think he kept alive for a long time was that Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies pheno.
So I was thinking about that earlier, actually, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name. So there is this dude here in Oregon. I don't remember his name, and he did a lot. He used to be, I think it was IC Mag and a few other places, some forums on the internet.
You're talking about Medical Rick?
Not Medical Rick.
Oh, okay.
But he did work with the Girl Scout cookies specifically. I think he was responsible, or at least had something to do with the Thin Mint pheno.
Right.
And then he did some work on some of DJ Short strains. And I can just not for the life of me remember the name of his company or his name.
Wait, is it Second Generation Genetics?
No. It's something weirder. I remember it having something to do with his username, because that's what he was known by. And he had great genetics, and he disseminated them throughout the valley. This was probably about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while, because I got into the game really late. When I started growing, it was already, I think I started growing in 2016. I think that was the year, I don't remember, but it was right after legalization. I got my medical card right after it was basically legal.
Yeah, I was already out. I'd been out for basically 2 years by the time you started.
Yeah, yeah.
We were doing personal and growing here.
Yeah. But all that was mostly personal. I know whatever, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was not like what you were doing before.
Yeah, no, I remember it was this weird thing, because I was gonna go and I was gonna do a grow. I was gonna be okay. So I got all my my rice and my beans, and I got all my clones, and I got all my equipment, and I got fertilizer, and I'm okay. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do a season out in the woods.
Right.
And this was about 2013, 2014.
Okay.
And because I was going to go out there, they're like, no, don't do that. No, we don't have to do blah, 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 blah. I'm like, we can't do it in the backyard, not what I'm talking about. We can't do it.
Right.
Like that. We got to do something a little bit different. So I was going to go out and go back to my old spots, one of my zones, and do that. And then try to take it and do something with it.
Right.
But I didn't. And instead, we just blew up the backyard.
And that was the year before I got here.
Yeah, and then we just kept doing it. And it went.
Oh, yeah, y'all did it for... because I think I came and y'all didn't do it very much the year I was here, because the neighbors... Yeah. But, Y'all had a crazy backyard garden.
Did you see the ones that went above the house? Were you there for that?
Well, I was there for a set that went above the house, but
Like-
there have been several since y'all gone that have gone over the house.
Oh, yeah, no, this was one of the big ones. I mean, we had... This might have been like the year before you got here.
Miss Mary Jane literally had a 20-foot fire of a roof back there this year.
Yeah.
It was literally, well, maybe not. It was 50. It was going over the roof of your house, okay? It was over the crown of your roof.
Wait, this year?
Yeah.
I was about 10 feet tall.
Okay, 10 feet tall. My
It's about
bad.
10.
She's had huge plants out there.
Yeah, what happens? We've grown so much weed out there. All of that soil, any of those spots, any of those buckets, if you use any of the raised beds, all of that's been built up and conditioned.
No,
and
the
just-
first year I grew was the last year you were here. Before you left.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, because then I moved away because
You moved away right in the middle of my first grow. No, second grow. So the first grow you were here the whole time. The second grow you left, and then your dad had someone over there helping, and he took your dad's mother of Girl Scout cookie and gave it to me, and then I put it in the ground, not knowing.
Which Girl Scout cookie?
Thin Mint.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
The mother tasted delicious, by the way.
I never cared for it. I didn't like it.
The only people I know who really, really love that didn't like to trim it. That was the problem. But you, your dad, and I both really like that cut. That specific Girl Scout cookies, that Thin Mint. It's a little more indica leaning, and it can be potent in a way some people dislike.
Yeah, it was a little heady. I'll give it that. Which I'm not the biggest fan of sativas anyway. At least
Well,
not
it was
like
an
100%.
indica, but it would send your head spinning.
Yeah, and I don't. No, I like the couch lock. Give me the couch lock.
Oh no, it couch locked you, but it didn't slow your brain down at all.
Yeah,
It was nice.
it didn't do the couch lock to me.
Oh,
But
I'm
then
sorry.
also this was at a time though where my tolerance was significant to any kind of cannabis.
Well, this was so. I would say that when you came over to my house warming and smoked that glass blunt with me, your tolerance was probably closer to where mine is now.
Yeah.
We've reversed roles since then because I've been slowly pickling myself in all the home grow I can produce.
Oh yeah. Then that's where I'm at now. I took a 2-year hiatus.
yeah, I want to talk about that.
I was living in places that were not conducive.
To consuming cannabis, yeah.
Yep. And I don't want to say that I'm a weed snob, but I'm kind of a weed snob. And I was in places where it was just like anything that would happen to us here, cannabis wise, would just be gross. And it's just I don't
Wait.
want to
What do you? Oh, you mean the actual flower was just
Yeah.
going to be gross?
It was just going to be gross. It's like, I already know this is not worth it. So I'm just going to not. I just, screw this. I'm going to abstain. And then I moved to Colorado.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that was the thing. And I'd already promised myself, like, oh, I'm going to stay out of the, I don't need any of that, blah, 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 blah. And then it just happened one day, and I'm just down there, and I'm in a dispensary in Boulder, and just, I get this weed goat head. Yes. 30%, something ridiculous. Kind of smelled cheesy, and I like that.
I do like cheeses as well.
Just one hit, and you're done. Like, oh man, that was so good. And it was really refreshing. It was like, wow, this is better than anything that I've ever grown. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Maybe I don't have to stress about not growing. It turns out other people also grow good cannabis, which is nice because if there's one thing that growers don't do is give each other the benefit of the doubt. Everyone hates each other, and it's just like, oh, okay.
You know what, man? And I don't pick up on social cues. I can be, what can we say, a little dense when people are insulting me. If they're being all subtle about it, it goes
Yeah.
just straight over my head. what's that enabled me to do is power through everyone's cuntiness because I was in the army for so long. Sometimes abuse feels like affection. Yeah. And so I'll just hang around and then they're like, oh, this guy's not here to try to flex. He just wants to learn. And so they'll just start teaching me stuff because I'm too dumb to know they're being an asshole to me. And then I just learn. And now I've kind of taken, a little bit here and a little bit there from all these like old school growers about stuff I like about their style of growing and stuff that like maybe I'm skeptical about, maybe they do something that I don't feel is necessary because I do this other thing. Like, some people use hydrogen peroxide on the plants.
Yeah.
I haven't needed to. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. If I need to, I will, but I've never had to.
So, you can. You have to be careful with hydrogen peroxide because there's a certain level of phytotoxicity that you will hit depending upon the concentration. But I swore by and used 60% solution hydrogen peroxide for a lot of cleaning and a lot of doing stuff. I wasn't using bleach. I was just using peroxide.
No, I use peroxide to clean, but I'm talking about when people would like spray the plant with it.
That's unnecessary.
Okay, cool.
That defeats the purpose chemistry-wise. Like, it's going to degrade so fast into water. There's no actual benefit other than sterilizing your plant and potentially messing up its symbiotic relationship with anything that may or may not be growing in or around its stomatas. Like, do you have any idea, like, what lives on tree bark? Yeah. Like, why would I want to sterilize that? That's insane. No, you sterilize, like, root zones. Like, sterilize your pots. Especially if you're going to use an inoculant. Like, I want to know what's in my root zone. So, right. Sure, yeah, I'll water with that, or I'll use like as inert as possible dirt, cocoa coir, things like that. Just soilless mixes like Sunshine Number 7. Like, you know what you're getting. It's neutral. It's been heat treated.
See, I'm going crusty this time. I'm doing all dry amendments. I'm getting crazy with it.
It could be done. We've done it.
It's
an option.
Never done it before in indoors or outdoors where I'm not using any salts at all. I usually do a weird. I call it hybrid. It's like I'm not using all synthetics. A lot of what my plants are getting is from the dirt, but like I do supplement with synthetics. But this time, I'm trying just to scratch stuff in and water it in, and we'll see how it goes. It's going good so far.
So, and the first time this was introduced to me, and I used it and I saw the results and I saw what it was doing. The one that did the actual amendment, and it's all EDTA chelates, it's all the big mix, it's everything. It is a complete, and it's the American Pride from Fox Farms. That one is all business all day long.
I'll try it sometime maybe.
It's organic.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. But it works. It works. The one thing that I don't like about it, and you can use it standalone, you don't water with it. This is all, you pre-mix this for your veg cycle, and you're going to get weeks of fucking food out of it. It will eventually drift out of the soil, which is, you don't want that in there anyway during your flowering period, because there's the two schools of thought on what your plant should look like in the flowering, but we'll get to that later. As far as just an amendment, so you're not using the fertilizer solutions during every watering. It's all in there. That was the best one that I've ever used.
Okay.
There are the other way, because we were huge aficionados into the earthworm castings, the blood meal, the bone meal, the green sand, kelp meal, all of that other fun stuff. The diatomaceous earth, which turns out is actually an effective pesticide.
Yeah, I still need the diet. Like, I need to go buy some because I think it'll be in the store now, and come summer it won't be again. I need to go buy a shitload of it because I think part of my mite explosion last year is that I just didn't have my D because I usually like I'll spray, right, but part of why I was getting away with only spraying like once or twice a week is because I was also dusting with diatomaceous earth in veg. Like, I didn't stop until like I saw my first, like, when they get really mature, they're not quite. They're like pre-flowering, but you can. Then I'd stop dusting, and then the plants would start getting washed thoroughly because I don't want DE in my flowers. You don't want DE in your flowers, right? But during veg, it's fine. You just splash that shit on there, let it on there. Bugs crawl through it. They die a horrible, painful death, and everyone's happy. But they ran out of it last year. In the stores, you couldn't find it for like 2 months.
That's weird.
No, it's not that weird. We've been dealing with shortages in little gardening supplies and weird price spikes since the pandemic started. Because what happened is the pandemic really disrupted the home gardening industry in a lot of ways. And, well, like, for perfect example, right now, it's prime time to start your indoor cannabis garden, right? And it's getting ready to be time to germinate indoor seedlings to sex them to go outside in this upcoming spring. 3-gallon pots are more expensive than 5-gallon pots right now at most stores because they're a more common size, so there's a shortage of them right now.
No, that's dumb. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it's literally like $5.99 at the Grange right now for a 5-gallon fabric pot, but for a 3-gallon fabric pot, it's like $8.98. It's weird stuff like that. But it's been going on for a while. I think there for a while you couldn't find like. Oh yeah, you could. They're sold out at CalMag for like 2 weeks at most of the garden stores and stuff. More people are cultivating cannabis now than ever, and it's a beautiful thing. But the garden industry isn't used to supplying the home growers, and when they spike, not commercial growers and their consumption spikes. I'm talking about people going and buying 12-ounce bottles of CalMag down at fucking Wet'suwig, and it'll last them like 3 years, but they always run out all at once, and then they go buy all of it out of the store, and then you can't find it for like 2 months, because we do live in the mountains, and the trucks gotta go through the passes, man.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. Like, I had to... That was my first real introduction to Fox Farms fertilizers because I couldn't get my usual stuff, which was Growtech.
Yeah.
That was my favorite brand. And just 1 year, I couldn't get Monster Bloom. So I had to get Beastie Blooms from Fox Farms instead. And it was just like, okay, well, I guess 0, 50, 30 fertilizer. Alright, screw it. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what it does. It's the same thing. It accomplishes the same
I use Fox Farms. I don't mind. And you know why I like using Fox Farms as opposed to one of these nutrient companies? Because guess what? Every time I go to the counter at the Grange or any one of our beautiful American feed stores, and I go, hey, I would like a 3 cubic foot bag of Fox Farms Ocean Forest Organic Blend, and they're like, how many would you like? And I just tell them a number, and then I get it. They're never out of it, ever. Because Fox Farms distributes effectively.
Mm-hmm. I ordered a pallet once. I got a whole pallet of Ocean Forest.
Yeah.
And they just, like, delivered it. They actually delivered it to the grow shop. They didn't take it all the way to me. But then I remember getting that call, and they're like, hey, your pallet of dirt's here. And it's just like, yeah. Satisfying,
dude. I went to the Grange, and I went and bought like a couple bags one day, and I told the kid there, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come through here one day, and I'm gonna buy like an ass load of dirt, but more than you think you're gonna want to put in this truck. Don't worry, the truck will handle it. Just it's going to be a lot. So when you see me pull up next time, grab a buddy because you're going to be loading. And I came up and I bought like 12 bags, right? And had him throw it in my little Toyota. It was almost dragging.
Very nice. And
then everyone knows what you're doing when you buy that dirt. Yeah. Because like you're a guy, one of Mary Jane's friends was coming to visit. And he saw me loading them into wheelbarrows and wheeling them into my backyard. And he's like, hell yeah, I got that good dirt. And I'm like, hell yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, because a lot of people, at least if it were up to me, and if I was having a, oh, this is my vegetable garden, I'm not going to use Ocean Forest for that. I'm going to use something... No, that's Happy Frog. We're in Happy Frog territory. I'm going to put some perlite in it. We're going to use Happy Frog.
You can use Happy Frog to grow weed if you want, honestly. If you're going to supplement with salts, you can. I've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, you could use it. It's just not... It doesn't have some of the goodies that Ocean Forest has, but it's a lot of the sameness. Piss poor drainage. You got to add perlite. It's got to be cut with something. But It works. Used it for a long time. We used to cut the Ocean Forest with the Happy Frog.
Nice.
Like it just.
That's what I used to do. My top layer would be Happy Frog, and my bottom layer would actually be the Grange's mix. The Grange, folks, is a garden store that's native to Oregon. You don't have them where you live if you're not in Oregon. They're only in Oregon. But they have a GMB blend. It's like Garden Bloom. It's their organic blend. And they have this raised bed mix. And every year it goes on sale where you can buy 3 and you get 1 for free. And I would buy that, and I would put that in the bottom of my cannabis pots. And then I would put... but it was a little dry. It didn't hold water super well. So I would put a layer of Happy Frog over it to help that retain moisture, and then I would fertilize with salts, and that was what I was doing for a while, and then I've been converted to spending more on soil initially, and then that seems to just come up with a better product. And I grow in bags because I'm disabled and I don't like to reach all the way to the ground. People are like, why do you buy dirt and bring it into your yard? And well, because I'm not digging holes every year.
Fair enough.
My back hurts.
No, just get the grow bags. I was a huge fan of the plastic ones. The second they introduced that technology and I was made aware of it, I'm like, yep, we're going to try that. It just makes everything so much easier to deal with.
I'm a big proponent of smart pots. I know people are going to get mad at me because I think Scott's Green brought them, and I'm sorry, but they're from Oklahoma, and it makes my little heart sing that I can buy something from my parents' native state. Eventually, maybe someone will make a better grow bag, but until they do, I'm going to use smart pots. And they're cheap. Guys, they're so cheap. And they're the only company that... Anyway, I'm not... They don't pay me. Hey, Smart Pots, I know enough about your company to make ads for you right now. Call me. I'm cheap. So cheap. Cheap. Buy me. I'm kidding. I'm not for sale. I am. Anyway, so... I am actually... Oh. We were talking about your return to cannabis, and then we got distracted by Grow Talk, which is beautiful. So, I wanted to say something. So, you were talking about this uber potent strain of cannabis called Goat Head?
Oh, Goat Head.
Okay.
Goat Head, yes.
I had Colorado cannabis. I had a strain called Grape God.
Uh-huh.
And it was very potent.
Oh, yeah.
I've had it grown in Oregon. It was also very potent, but I have a theory about regional weed, James.
Okay.
Every time you go to a place and you have regional weed and you're from a different region, it fucking blows your mind. I have this theory, right? So I went to Oklahoma. I had some edibles. I lost my goddamn mind.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay? I have an edible here. Listen, it can be very potent. I go to sleep. It's a lovely time. I don't lose my goddamn mind. Shut up, phone. You're not welcome. But, so I have a theory that each region has, like, its own, like... I don't care about terroir, but, like, the cannabis there, like, fucks with you differently. And for, like, a little bit of time, you get an added effect of it being novel. And so its entourage effect is different, but I bet if you stayed there long enough, you would have gotten used to it, and it wouldn't have done that as much. Do you get that sense when you came home to Oregon, the weed threw you for a loop the first couple times you smoke it?
So, let's address something right now with Colorado being on the Front Range and the altitude.
Okay.
So, altitude sickness is a thing. It happens to real people.
Okay.
You, me, everybody.
I was in Wyoming when I smoked the Colorado weed, so I wasn't in Colorado.
Okay. Altitude matters, and when you're over a mile up,
yes,
in some spots we're even higher.
Mm-hmm.
There's no air.
Right. You're suffocating.
Yeah. We actually sell like oxygen bottles at Walmart. You can go in, you can buy the oxygen bottle, like an asthma inhaler. And
oh wow!
A fucking oxygen tank. And tourists love them. You don't actually need to do that. You just drink more water.
Right.
But I think partially what made the weed so fucking killer up there is the altitude sickness.
Oh, interesting.
Like, you were already struggling, and then now you're going to take all the oxygen. We're going to replace all of that with, cannabinoids and smoke.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I think you might be right. That might be something to it, but I also think there's a regional, like, you develop like a local cannabis head, and you get used to strains that are grown locally. Because the same thing happens with me. I go to Washington. and they're on sea level. But when I go up to Washington, I smoke indoor from Washington. That's good. The first couple of times, even if I only have a little bit, I get a little uncomfortable, Mr. James. I get a little Spider-Man dangling off the building, and J. Jonah Jameson is asking for the next story, and I've got that camera, but I can't rig it up.
Yeah.
It's not but then I'm fine. After a couple days, I've been consuming it, I'm fine. And I wonder if you go to a different place, you have a different thing.
Well, there were many dispensaries.
Right.
But in my opinion, after trying several of them, there was only one clear-cut winner that got the best strains sourced or produced. Some of it they grew themselves. They did do production as well, but some of it was sourced from other companies.
Right.
Like there's a company down near Pueblo, and if you smoke a pre-roll, 70% chance they rolled it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's how big they are in Colorado. And that's their jam. They got some strain, blah 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 blah. And they make pre-rolls.
Okay.
And they're pretty good.
Okay.
No complaints. But the farm in Boulder, Colorado. Wow. Just wow.
Okay.
Just wow.
So Boulder is where I gotta go to get the weed in Colorado at the farm.
Their weed has a better cure. It's not too dry. It's not over trimmed. Like they didn't go through with like a trimming table and just strip every tip and calyx and just knock everything off there. They left the goodies on. Like it's like they were like actually trying.
I do, yeah.
And it's a great deal. I used to go in. I'd get some of this goat head or something else that was roughly between 28 and 32% THC because that's the way that I roll.
Right.
And I'd go in. I'd drop $100. Get quarter to a half ounce. Keep it. Smoke it. It took three months to go through like a quarter of the goat head.
Huh.
3 months to get through that. It was just absolutely savage. Like it was like, I don't know, just because there's nothing you can do. Like especially coming from where I was coming from, Montana, which there was no good weed in Montana.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like across the border, I'm hanging out, and it's like, oh hey, let's try this, and I smoke this goat head, and it just kapow, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually really top quality. Like this is everything that I wanted it to be. And I can just go and just buy. I don't have to grow it anymore. Like I can just go, really, I can just go buy an eighth. I don't have to like text anybody or wait for somebody to get off work.
Why did you? It's just so tragic that you had to go leave Oregon to find money because Oregon's weed laws are so conducive to being able to smoke weed easily. Same with Colorado, but Oregon, I think, makes it the easiest.
It was just... And it's not like I didn't try. So, for a while there, right before I jumped ship, before I moved out of Oregon entirely, I was working at one of the first approved cannabis recreational facility farms, blah, 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 blah. And I remember, like, because I was working there, and I was a trimmer.
Yeah.
And then I'm, like, the only, like, person there that isn't a hippie.
Yes.
And then it became knowledge that I know how to use Excel and that I can read a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And, that I'm, like, highly educated. And they're like, oh, hey, like, you want to, like, do paperwork? Okay. All right, hippie, I'll do your paperwork. Somebody's got to. Shit. And that was an issue. Like, when we legalized in Oregon, there were... The amount of applicants that actually applied for their licenses, there was a lot. There was a whole lot of people. Do you know how many actually got approved?
No.
Very few. Out of, like, hundreds of applicants. Like, the first round of approvals, there was, like, 10 farms that actually, like, did the paperwork the right way. And that's mostly what it was. It was clerical errors because these people were too high to do their fucking paperwork. Or they couldn't... because a lot of people wouldn't work with them.
Right.
So there were no professional services that you could actually, go and engage and that would do this work for you.
Okay.
And I remember, like, because I left this industry, and I worked in finance for a long time.
Right.
And we wouldn't touch you guys with a 10-foot pole. If I even thought that you were growing cannabis, I closed your accounts. I had to. Like, there was a form I had to fill out. especially in Colorado. Yeah, there was a form.
And we're talking about business accounts. We're
Yeah,
not talking
these are
about
business.
personal accounts. We're not talking about medical patients. Everyone calm down.
Right.
Wells Fargo does not care about your 6 plants, but if you're growing 100, they probably don't want you.
It's just if you were doing, I remember we had this one guy and like he was so excited, and we knew he didn't never say it out loud, but his business account he had a farm business,
Right.
and like we knew, but
Right.
he never let it slip, and then until one day it just happened, and then he said just a little too much, and then it was just like, oh shit, why did you have to say anything? You were doing fine, and now I have forms to fill out. Great, thanks. You shot yourself in the foot, and it sucked because like he just bought like this new tractor,
Yeah.
and it was this big deal, and he had to come in because we had to order the cash for him because he was doing a cash transaction because you can't really do anything else. It's not like we're going to give him a credit card.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, this is awesome, and we're gonna do this cash transaction report, and I'm gonna ask you all of these really insane questions because you
See, never leave the cannabis industry because every other industry fucks the cannabis industry.
Yeah. Well, they made it really hard for us. Finance was kind of one of those weird ones. Like, we would love to do business with you guys. I think it'd be really great, but there's no legal protections.
Well, right, yeah. So if you lose money, you just lose money. You're just ass out. It's not a safe investment. And that's one of the things I did want to talk to you about. Have you been kind of following how the cannabis industry is kind of imploding right now?
So I saw it, or at least I've been seeing it somewhat vicariously because I've been in other parts of the country.
Right.
California's not doing great.
Mike closer, I think.
California's not doing great. Washington is not doing. They never really had a good handle on that. Oregon never had a good handle on that. I remember being here in like 2018. I came to visit, and I just remember the entire valley filled with cannabis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
28. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like off the fucking hook, and the entire valley just reeked like weed.
I loved it. It was so good for me.
And then coming back now, because I've been here for like 6 months. When I got here, there was nothing. All of these farms. I remember like driving past like the new expressway or whatever it is. I remember driving down there. And
That farm's still active.
it used to be like full on both sides.
Yeah.
Like, just going up the freeway, there was farms on both sides.
They lost a lot of money, man.
Yeah, the one over here in Eagle Point, the big one over here, gone.
That wasn't hemp. I think they got busted.
That was nuts.
So, so the sheriff, for the longest time, we legalized weed, and the sheriff decided not to play ball. And I think the reason they did that is because they were farming in their way. They knew that if they let it get out of hand, that they could ask for help and get tons of money. I think that's what happened. Because now it got a little out of hand, do you remember?
Yeah.
And now the sheriff has been cracking down really hard. And I don't... Also, the price dropped below $600 a pound.
Oh Jesus, yeah, that'll do it too.
No, honestly, bro, like, so there was so...
600?
Bro, wholesale, yeah, like, so people, like, so you've seen my weed, it's decent, it's pretty good. You pay like the top, or like if you were paying like $1,200 to $1,600 a pound, you'd pay $1,600 to that, not 12, right? You'd pay the top end for that. Someone offered me one time to buy a pound of my weed for $400. Now I don't sell my weed, obviously, and I'm definitely not selling it for $400 fucking dollars. But those are the kind of... They were desperate for flower, dude, and they were buying it at like $200, $400 after... Because half of those hemp fields, I guess, were kind of planted with cannabis.
Yeah, that was an issue.
So there was a glut for a while, and cannabis wasn't worth very much money at all, especially like on a pound for pound. They were still selling it for like $20, $25, $35 an eighth at the dispensary, but... You're as a farmer, you couldn't get shit for it. That was what happened, legalization. Because I remember, like when I was just, it was just medical only. The first couple of years, I was involved just trimming at like friends' houses, that kind of thing, making my bag, like getting weed and maybe a little bit of money, but mostly just weed. And it was like fucking like there were people that had sweetheart deals back east or like even just people who were selling in medical dispensaries were getting like $3,000 a pound for really nice weed, like 3,000, 2,800, easy all day.
Yep.
And then as soon as legalization, the price just tanked. It went from $3,200 to $2,800 a pound to like $2,200 a pound the first year, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's tanking, but I can still make tons of money." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's not done going down. It's not going down." And then the next year, it went from $2,200 to $2,400. This, folks, people were getting $3,000 a pound steady for decades. That was like the price for years for like your uncle's backyard cannabis. They were getting anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a pound, depending who they were selling it to. That's what it was, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you could correct me.
So, and I kind of remember when it happened.
So yeah, it was really expensive, and then it tanked, and it tanked, and it kept halving. It would go from like 3 to 2 to 1, and then it dropped down to $800 a pound, and everybody that was running like an extra big medical garden just started growing for personal consumption then.
Yeah, well, 'cause for the longest time, it was stable, and it was $50 a gram. That was the street price. It was 50 a gram.
Fuck.
Or no, not 50 a gram. Sorry, $50 an eighth.
Oh,
so whatever
yeah.
that worked out to per gram, which is like $20 a gram or
like
something.
$13 to $18 a gram.
Yeah, that's the world that we lived in.
Right.
Pounds were 2,500 to 3,000 depending on
Right.
quality. Every once in a while, you'd see brickweed, filled with seeds. That was rare. And if you were hanging out with people that had access to brickweed, you were not in a good scene. So don't actually talk to those people. But a pound.
I haven't seen brickweed in years. Real brickweed?
Last time I saw it was 2014. And I knew a guy because we were looking for some. We were feeling nostalgic.
What the fuck?
And I remember he called me 11 o'clock at night. He was just frantic. He's like, "Oh my god, I found it!
Oh my god,
I found it! You have to come over now. Like I've got like a fucking quarter pound of this shit. It was like $20."
Okay.
I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, wait, oh, you got some mechs, straight up, like, flaked off the fucking brick, yeah. And we went over there and we just picked all the seeds and the stems. And, we smoked it. It was delightful.
Did you get a headache?
No.
Okay, that's
no. This was good mechs.
Okay, but it still had in a brick compressed.
Yeah, it was good weed that's been compressed.
Fucking wild. So you were watching the price of weed tank.
And it was gross because like I remember it going from $50 an eighth, and then all of a sudden it was $35 an eighth, and pounds weren't 3,000, which I've only ever sold 1 pound in my whole career at fucking that price, and it was to this real weird fucking dude, and I didn't really like him, but he had cash, and I was just like, we're just gonna try it once, and then I never saw him again. But that was like the only time that ever happened.
That's fucking shady as fuck, but okay.
Yeah, and other than that, we didn't really. We sold clones, we sold plants.
Right.
We did that part of it. That was way more lucrative for us, because clones are easy, and I don't have to wait for them. It takes me just a couple of weeks to get some clones, or it takes me months to get a crop done.
Yeah.
And we were rapid cycling. I mean, we were doing like 4 or 5 runs a year.
Right.
Like, sometimes more if we were running indoors and outdoors. So for a while there, we were doing indoors 24/7, 365.
Right.
And it's hard to do in the summer. Like, that sucks. That's expensive.
I do a hybrid. I follow I often tell people on the podcast your environment dictates what you can do in the grow room. Like, if you've got central AC, that can open up some options, but if you're trying to grow in a garage, then a lot of times you're dictated that you got to grow outdoors. And in Oregon, that's fine. You can grow 4 outside, you can get a medical card, and you can grow, 6 or, and you live with someone and they're an adult, you can grow 10 flowering plants because you get 4 plus your medical 6. So that's a fun little loophole for you folks out there. If you want to grow 10 behemoths, you can. Or, 12 if that person gets their medical card. But beyond that, you don't want to get into that Because once you start growing more than 12, you have to start reporting to metric, and that's not the kind of drama you want.
Right. Yeah, and you can't, like, even just with 6 plants, like, and I've seen gardeners do it. I mean, they get the right strain. We had this strain of Trainwreck that was going around for a long time, and it was good. And
Yeah, I've had some of that. It's pretty good.
it was a little fluffy, but it was a good commercial producer. Spindly as all hell, but just good commercial producer.
Right.
And you could get these plants, big. Mm-hmm. And you could get 3 or more pounds off of each plant in a season off these Trainwreck varietals. And some of these other ones that we were running, we had a Northern Lights 5 haze strain that would do it as well. If pushed and not gorilla planted, like if you actually did it the right way, you could get one of these plants 20 feet tall and get 3 or 5 pounds off of it. And that's what was going on. And then because the medical thing happened, we changed the limits, and then there was more, and there was more, and there was more, and because we used to do clinics. We used to work with doctors, and we would go around and we would set up these mobile clinics and take appointments and get people their medical cards.
Right.
And not just in Oregon. We did this in other states as well. That was technically, I think that was a real racket. That was the racket, was the medical cards. And the doctor, and I remember the doctors being real weird, because we had to take weird doctors, because that's the only people that would do it. We had this heart surgeon, and he was weird. He was a weird guy.
Okay.
But he was a doctor, and he was our doctor, and he would do it for cash.
Oh, boy.
And we paid him in cash. It couldn't be... It had to be in a manila envelope. A small manila envelope that was, conducive to cash, not like one of the big giant ones.
Right.
Couldn't be folded, and it couldn't be creased. The bills.
Fucking weird.
Yeah. We had to give... Absolutely, it had to be fresh bills. Here's your $10,000 in fresh bills. Otherwise, you'd give it back to you. Be like, no, just let me know when you have when it's how I want it. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, sure. And he would also order for you at restaurants.
I hate that fucking shit.
But he's a doctor.
You have to put up with it.
Yeah, you have to trust him. He's a medical professional. Of course, you're going to take his suggestions. And of course, you're going to have a martini, even though they're fucking gross. Because the doctor wants you to have one. Okay, sure. Sure, thanks.
Fucking creepy ass fucking... Ugh.
Yeah, it's just absolutely not. Wasn't the biggest fan of that. And that ran its course after what legalization kind of screwed that whole up, because that's not a racket anymore, because now everybody can just grow weed whenever they want. They don't need us.
I've actually got to renew my medical card, and because I'm a disabled veteran, and because of all these things, I'm actually not going to pay any fees this time.
That's nice.
Because of the way my disability is, I don't have to pay for a doctor's note anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to do that paperwork actually tomorrow. I'm going to be doing it.
You should probably do that paperwork tomorrow.
Well, my card doesn't expire until next month. I've got some time. We're good. Doesn't take as long. There's not as many people waiting in line. Not everyone's trying to make their truck payment with giant backyard grows anymore. Because you can't. Honestly, dude, it used to take 3 months to get your medical card, and now it takes 20 days. Through the mail. I might try it online this year and see how that goes.
Oh, you can do it online now?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh, holy shit. Yeah,
see, you understand why I'm not in a crazy hurry like I would have been 5 years ago. The number of licensed medical growers in Oregon is going down, and I think it upsets a lot of people. So they made it easier and easier to do, and all that's done is saved those of us who've always been willing to do the paperwork money. I don't mind doing it, dude. It's easy paperwork.
Yeah,
you just
gotta fill it up.
You fill it out, and you have a doctor if you need a doctor, and then you give them the money. And the hardest part of the whole thing is going to the bank and getting a money order. That's the hardest part of the whole process. And I don't even have to do that now because I don't have to pay them.
Yay!
And I'm still putting it off because reasons.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fuck with any of that. I don't have any qualifying conditions. I don't feel like dealing with the doctors. I don't even live here. So what's the point?
Well, y'all can grow 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got seeds, man. Let me know. I've got seeds right here. These are my bag seeds that I've been growing from yeah, have some seeds.
I know, and I want to do a grow because I already know that I'm going to be back and forth, but I don't want to leave like work for other people.
Ooh.
So, and that's partly because I've got a lot going on right now.
Right.
So being like nailed down to a dedicated grow can be a little bit tricky, you know.
Yeah, I know. I know about that.
And that's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to mess with this anymore is because of how it controlled my life.
It does, yeah. You have to stick with it. And there's no days off. And if you leave and you go on a vacation, you have to find someone you can trust who can come in and water or check the watering system to make sure it's not flooding your grow area, or adjust the lights, whatever it is you need done. And you have to trust them to do it. And you have to accept that when you get back, something's gonna have gone wrong.
Yeah. No, even school is a problem. Like I remember like just going to class and then coming home and then realizing that I had a timer failure and that my lights had been on for an extra 10 hours that shouldn't have been on, and it's now 120 degrees in the grow room. Oof. In the middle of the day.
That's not good.
And it's like, that's wonderful. It wasn't anybody's fault.
Right.
It was a broken timer. They are fallible devices. They can break.
Right, yeah.
And that's all it was. And it was just like, wow, I am literally married to this.
Yeah.
There's no vacations. There's no life. I can't have people over.
Now you kinda can.
Yeah, you can. Then the last time where I went through and converted an entire house and
yeah,
like where I was active.
Right. I'm not active. I literally am just growing for personal consumption, and because I can, I enjoy doing it. So like I'm growing, like you saw, I have a little garage grow going, and I've got a plant growing here in the studio as well. And I'm just having fun growing. So I'm always going to be growing at least one or two. I take like little breaks, like when I transition from outdoor to indoor, there's a break.
Yeah, and I don't like that transition. I like, if I'm going to do it, I want it all the time, and I want dedicated facilities, and everything it's on the calendar. It's planned.
I like it. It makes me feel like a mad scientist, and it kind of fits in with the rest of my gardening in a weird way, because everything's cyclical in the yard and with my chickens and everything. So like, I know when the chickens start laying, it's time to start thinking about popping photoperiod seeds if I'm needing to sex them. Because, like, a couple of my plants are going to be feminized seeds, and a couple of them I'm going to need to sex. So, like, the ones I need to sex, I need to pop in February is when I'm going to do it. So, I got one more tent and one more 2x2 light coverage light, and I'm going to get a heater here soon. I'm going to start growing another tent in my garage. I'm going to be running 1, 2, 3 lights.
I miss those Hydro Huts. That was so convenient.
What?
The Hydro Hut, the like little grow tents.
Oh yeah, they're fun.
I was a huge believer in that technology. I used to use them as veg chambers.
Yeah.
So and it was beautiful. Even like the 4x4 ones, like it just kept everything so separate. You could they're modular, they're cubic. You could you can have this one set up. And I know like even a 4x4 hut like with the correct ventilation, that'll handle 1,000 watt line absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Especially with heat sinks. Like,
well, no,
hydro,
you don't even need all that.
absolutely.
Now you can flower under LEDs now, dude.
So I missed that whole train. I remember when it happened.
you literally got out when you stopped growing. LEDs were still prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, the last trend that I remember was the 600 watt switchable ballasts, the digitals.
Oh, okay.
That was the last big trend, and that's what we ran. I remember, because I remember switching from 1,000 watt metal halide, magnetic core ballasts to the digitals.
Okay.
And that was the last big thing. And then they started coming out with the LED and the cob lighting, and it was just like, we were leery, because I remember seeing them in High Times, and they were purple. You had the red and the blue, and the full spectrum, and they were red and blue, and you couldn't see what the hell was going on in the grow room.
I have a blurple light in there. You know what a blurple light's really good for? Cloning. I clone under an old school saucer clone light with an internal fan.
Shit.
Yeah, because it's weaker. It's not full spectrum, and I have it's bro science, but I think that they root better with weaker light at first, so they seem to root a little better. And I don't need a lot of light for a veg just for them to veg. It's not enough to flower under. But now I've got these full spectrum lights that are like the ones in my 2x2s are 100 watts, and the one in my 4x4 is a 400 watt or a 450 watt LED light.
I don't know how I feel about that. I've always used fluorescence.
Later, I'll show you some pic. You've seen my Instagram. It works.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
Or 'cause if they are as efficient, again, that was always a factor. Like doing grows, like you had to calculate power bills into that.
Oh, it's so expensive.
You had to know your rate, and then you had to calculate how many lights you had and how many watts and how many. You had to calculate your usage.
Well, and the LEDs have dimmers, so you can with seedlings and stuff. You don't have to run them at full power. You can crank them down to 40%.
Yeah, my 600s were dimmable. I had the digital. They were dimmable. I think the operating range was like 250 to 600 watts, essentially for output.
Yeah.
So I had the dimmable, switchable ballasts.
Okay.
And that was not that I ever did that. I always ran fucking full blast, 600 watts. I don't need to dim this. No, absolutely not. 'Cause by the time you end up actually using those in the first place, it's strictly for flower. I've always done all of my vegging under fluorescence.
Okay.
Even like prepping like a sea of green to just grow and to go into flowering. I've always used fluorescent lights for that. You can use HIDs, sure, why not? I just didn't think that it was necessary. I was patient. You get pretty decent growth rates. It's fine, and it's cheaper. Eats just less overhead and electricity.
Right. So, I assume one day, in the future, you're going to grow again, right? Eventually, one day you'll settle down somewhere and you'll try your hand at growing again. What strains do you look forward to growing? When are you going to? Because now there's this world out there of online seed banks, and you can just buy cannabis seeds. Or are you gonna see what people give you? Do you have anything that you're really wanting to grow?
Yep, actually yes, and I would. I don't know how exactly I'm gonna go about doing this. Maybe a Google search. Maybe I'll have to call somebody. I don't really want to talk to people, but I need to find DJ Shorts. Specifically, that guy.
Okay, DJ Shorts.
I want his Northern Lights Blueberry.
Okay. I bet you could find it. I think he's still doing stuff.
I don't know. I lost track of him about 12 years ago.
Okay. Well, the internet is amazing these days, and people are a lot more open about what they're doing, and they can be, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more information sharing going on. Like my podcast, if you're learning something, it might be nominal. That might not be why you're tuning in. I don't know if this is a growing show, but it's also definitely a culture show. It's a mixture of the two for sure. But there's a lot of resources out there for people trying to learn to grow that weren't there before, and there's a lot more accurate information out there than there ever has been before.
Yeah. And you can read all of that, and you can look at it, and you can talk to people and grow weed, and that's awesome. But you gotta have that weed that tastes like cedar, and that's what I want, okay? I want weed that tastes like cedar.
Okay.
And I know who has it.
Okay.
And I need to go get it. And that's what I want to grow. There is a Northern Lights phenotype that's been predominant here in the valley probably since the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And it's around. So I brought some flower with me today.
Oh, okay.
From one of the strains that was in the backyard. And I know, has that lineage.
At
least
okay.
half of it. There is some Northern Lights in there somewhere.
Okay. So I'm gonna, if it's Northern Lights, then I gave Miss Mary a Northern Lights seedling that I grew from a seed bank. And then I gave her one of those Fire from a Roof seedlings. And I gave her... I don't remember what else I gave her. I'm sorry. She was supposed to label things, and she never labels anything.
She labeled half of it.
Oh, joy.
Yeah.
So that might be a Northern Lights, shall we say, tribute from I Love Growing Marijuana.
Well, because what's in the grinder now, what I brought here ground up, and what we're taking hits of, that is that Northern Lights, and this is the best thing that came out of all of that.
Okay.
And it has that profile.
Okay.
For that funky cedar-ness, which is the dead giveaway that it's some kind of Northern Lights.
Oh, okay.
Or at least what we know as a Northern Lights, or what at least I know as a Northern Lights.
No, add more.
And it's my favorite.
It's very good. I've been enjoying smoking it throughout the entire podcast.
I just that is, and it's my favorite flavor profile. I like weed that tastes like cedar boxes. You know that, like, when you open up like a cedar chest and that smell hits you?
I do.
I like that from cannabis.
I like Afghans.
Like kind of the spicy, funky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Almost BO.
Yeah.
Well, I have run out of questions for you, sir.
Oh.
We've hit an hour on part 2.
Oh, wow.
So, folks, we are going to continue smoking, but our time with you is done. James, thank you so much for being on the Bagseed Chronicles. Is there anything you'd like to promote before we get out of here? Or do you just want to be a forever mystery? No Instagram handle, no nothing, just smoke on the wind?
Well, if I was going to promote anything, I guess I would just say, like, you know, the usual. I just want everybody to just stop and take a deep breath and just ask yourself, what have I done today to question authority? And how have I rejected the establishment?
You can reach me, Uncle Dig, on Instagram at Uncle Dig. The bumper music on this podcast was produced by Chad DeVilliers on ukulele. He can be followed on YouTube at Ukuleles Are Stupid or on Instagram at Chadwick Enterprises. Thank you for listening to The Bagseed.